Greetings and welcome to this week's episode of UC Weekly News. I'm your host, David Nanto, and joining me this week are a couple of friends that I had advised early on and what we're working with. Eric DeGiorgi, who's the founder of Netspeek. Eric, hi, good to see you.
Nice to see you, David.
And Sam Kennedy. Sam, what's your official title now? I'm sure
Uh,
you could give yourself anyone you want.
I'm the EVP of go-to-market.
EVP of go-to-market, and Netspeak is an organization that I said I've been familiar with for about a year and a half now, that are doing, and we're going to get into this in the conversation, but they're leveraging AI and natural language processing to be able to manage fleets of stuff. And I don't want to use anything more specific than stuff because I want to give them a chance. So, Eric, let's start with you very briefly from the background. How did you think of this? How did you come up with the company? And by the way, the reason we're talking today is because it's commercially available now. Now you can get
That's
it. It's really
correct.
cool. Congratulations.
Yes, it's a
So,
bit
so
surreal.
again, Eric, where did it come from?
Yeah, so my background's actually in the digital signage side of the industry. So I helped start and grow a company there for well over 15 years. And the genesis of NetSpeak was actually in that context, engaging with my existing customer base, which is a lot of the same base that NetSpeak is now leveraging. Um, and the problem, this goes back a few years, was that it was too multi-vendor, too much technology. Even traditional monitoring and management was insufficient. And it was, the proverbial, I need a single pane of glass, right? Rather than all these other different tools that are disparate. And so originally we started working on that and just seeing how we could provide a more unified experience. And then that coincided with really this surfacing an explosion of Gen AI, a few years ago. And, we were close to watching that technology emerge and realized that there was a paradigm, we were upon a paradigm shift. And so the technology now not only would facilitate kind of more traditional monitoring and other tools that are really driving reactive workflows, but actually you could take that intelligence and embed it into the network and become a part of the proactive workflow versus just kind of displaying information. So it's really taking that information, ingesting that information, but then layering the ability to reason and think about what's going on, just kind of like a person would, but then even go and take action because we've done all of these integrations with all these devices downstream. So it really becomes this intelligent, autonomous coworker that can go into these networks and operate alongside humans versus just another tool to see what's going on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and the paradigm shift is actually a really important way to put this because, Sam, you and I have been in this industry forever, caveman tools and all the rest of it early on. And what we had been seeing was the person responsible for these spaces, these digital signage and meeting rooms and conference spaces and whatever. It was an AV team, and then it was maybe a one or two specialists on a facilities or IT team. Then it became a central IT person. In many cases now, it's either the receptionist for the facility or nobody. And as Eric pointed out, we needed a tool that could do more than just say, "Oh, this room is broken. You now need to fix it."
Yeah, well, I mean, we're living it every day, and so that's what we're ultimately trying to solve for, and that's what we hear from our customers is that they have. We talk about it all the time that they have more spaces, they have higher expectations from the users, and they just have less knowledgeable people to support all of those spaces. And so the challenge is they're looking for tools and you think back in the caveman days we had monitoring tools then. And they really have not evolved at all in all of this time that we've been working in the industry. And so the industry and the end customers themselves are really looking for tools that have evolved to enable them to deploy more spaces with higher level of quality and any the anybody can support and keep the uptime up and running. Generalized IT in general, we hear from most organizations is can we enable generalized IT to support these spaces? They're technical enough that they're not afraid of touching technology, but they don't understand all the nuances that our industry and the industry, you said stuff. It's, we typically are focusing on unified communications, pro AV, and digital signage. And so what we're building is this tool that enables generalized IT to support all that stuff within those industries.
So then what is Netspeak and why is it different from everything else that's out there?
So you want to take that one?
Yeah, you go first. You founded this.
It's, I think to answer that question, you need to first kind of reframe a broader understanding is that we are transitioning from what we've all grown up in, the age of intelligence or the age of information, to now moving into this age of intelligence. I mean, we are building, as humanity, we are building a technology that somewhat mysteriously has the ability to think and act and observe and reason and produce results in a way that we've never had before. I mean, it's new technology that even the most senior architects at the most leading foundation and research organizations still don't fully understand how it works, and that's probably a whole nother podcast there. But the ability to harness that tool and create mechanisms to deploy that tool into use cases like we're doing now is overall a brand new phenomenon, irrespective of anything at Netspeak. It's a new human phenomenon to be able to do that, and I think we're seeing that deployed in all facets of the human experience. So with that kind of heady foundation, how does it get down to what I call us, like we're an applied AI company, right? So we're taking all of those extraordinary new technologies and tools, and we're bringing them into a vertical, and we're deploying it in a way that's wrapped in, everything that the enterprise needs, from security, consistency, reliability, compliance, all of that, to actually have it be a deployed product that a Fortune company is comfortable with deploying it into their network. So, what's new about what's different about Netspeak? I mean, again, going back to a traditional network operator would have some form of a dashboard that would have some sort of information displayed visually and textually that would tell them what was going on, the kind of state of operations of that. And that's about it. And maybe at best you could hard code some workflows to say if this, then that kind of thing. And those are all very fragile and break very easily and are costly to build. But now we're in an era where we can take that intelligence and we can deploy it into this context and train it just like a person would be trained and go and get certifications and courses and education. And so we are training this intelligence. We're giving it tools, resources, context. And that transitions from just here's a bunch of information, go figure it out, to I've just observed all of this and I think this is what we should do. And not just in a present moment, but over time. I mean, what's the past few decades, everything was big data. Remember those days, 10, 20 years ago, where big data was as big, if not a bigger buzzword, and all this stuff. How much of that data goes unused? 90%, 95%, 98%. So now you have an intelligence that can operate at the speed of light and process all of that data, maybe make use of some of it. So it's a real, again, I'll use the term paradigm shift. It's new technology, it's new approaches. It's what I was trying to articulate as part of our launch, is you kind of really need to reset your mind, your thinking, your expectations, because it's a brand new technology and it's a brand new application of that technology.
Maybe if I could, on top of just bringing it, because I think
Yeah.
Eric paints the vision of where we want to be and what we're building from a platform perspective. To bring it down at more of a ground level as to what we're launching is we're taking all that capabilities and focusing it on a few early use cases of problems that a lot of our customers are facing, a lot of organizations are facing. So we can do things like answer deep technical questions from a knowledge base perspective, leveraging data that doesn't get hallucinations like a consumer-based product would. We can do things like run automated room checks. So just that use case of where someone's going into the rooms every day to test to make sure that everything's working. We can automate that process. We can control the devices leveraging natural language processing. One of the demos that I show all the time is for Lena. That's the product. I said, Lena, reboot one of the devices in one of the conference rooms. And I just say that, right? That's part of natural language processing. So I don't have to dig through menus to find out how to do that. I can just leverage natural language and actually control devices. We have the ability to read logs and do some basic troubleshooting there. So what we're building, as Eric was talking about, is this platform that can do lots of different things. We're starting with a few use cases that we think are representative of what are major problems, but as what you can hopefully start to see is we have big appetite and big eyes as to what more we want to solve, and that's what we're working with our beta customers on, or what are the early problems or what are some of the major problems you're facing, and let's leverage this platform to solve those problems.
All right, so Eric, you were at the 30,000-foot view, and that was very
I'm
instructive.
always
And
up in the clouds, David. That's just
it's good. It's good to really get perspective. I like perspective. Sam, you brought us down a little bit lower, where you're at about 10,000, 8,000 feet. I really want to take us down to the ground here. If I've got a video conference equipped conference room that has 5 components in it, it's got a display, it's got speakers, it's got whatever. We can go through a control system. The morning, every day, every hour, if necessary, you can go in and make sure that each one of those things is alive. And that happens automatically. You can make sure that it's all set to the right input, output, all the things that are switchable that somebody might have messed up. Human fingers get in the way of equipment working. You automatically take care of that. Now, if somebody's kicked out a plug, you don't have a solution for that one yet. But if the network port is misconfigured, or if there's been a push and the firmware that was pushed out doesn't work, and you either need to roll back or you need to push out a replacement patch or firmware, those are the kind of things that it can either do after it asks the user, or it can do all by itself without asking the user and just inform the user based on what your customers prefer. Is that a fair assessment of what's happening?
Yeah, absolutely. And 2.0, we're actually going to deploy a fleet of robots to take care of those unplugged cords. No, I'm of course, just kidding.
Someday.
Yeah, someday, but not today or tomorrow. But yeah, no, that's very fair. What we want to do is be that kind of tier 1, tier 2 frontline observer of those spaces, right? So you have a constant 24/7, 365 watchful eye on those spaces. The human operator can very simply, through natural language, dictate to Lena in our platform, what do you want this space to be doing? And then Lena can interpret that. Okay, at this time of day, I want it to be like this. On this time of day, I want it to be doing this. If you see it doing X and it needs to be doing Y, go ahead and change it. And it's nuanced, but it's important to bring up that all of that, again, going back to my 30,000 foot level, is the platform is making those decisions on its own, in a sense, with the human guidance and on the guide rails and guardrails, but there's no programming of the platform. So you don't have to go in and say, hey, I want this room to be set up in this configuration for this use case, and I'm going to go in and hard code that and then execute that command every single time. And if something changes, I have to go back into that and rewrite it and recode it. That's a fundamental difference. It's nuanced, but it's important to understand. That's the actual applied AI in the whole picture that you painted right there. What the AI is specifically doing is being given an objective by a human user, observing that space, and then when or if there is misalignment between what the human wants that space to be doing and the current status of the space, the AI is observing that and then creating a workflow in real time to say, I need to change this, I need to change that, I need to change the input, I need to power on, I need to do whatever. And so none of that is pre-programmed or pre-configured or scripted. That decision is made on the fly, and that is also executed on the fly by the platform. So that's if you really talk about AI, that's what our AI is doing in that use case.
And there were two interesting and exciting points that I wanted you to describe briefly. One of them is the idea that you are not updating this platform. You're not going in and saying, "Oh, I've got this, new update, so I got to go in and update it." You've created a process by which it is automatically updating everything it needs to know. Whether that's getting it from manufacturers, whether it's getting it from updates that are pushed, it's educating itself based on what the latest changes are and what the system capabilities are.
Yeah, and that's a very complex system in order to build that. So I'll try to talk about it briefly, but it's very much a garbage in, garbage out solution, right? So if you have a reasoning thinking platform that's leveraging information and it has the wrong information, you're gonna it's gonna break down and function. But what's unique to the AI is, of course, the hallucinations, which is a term we've all become acquainted with, right? And so that is in the absence of proper information, the AI just makes stuff up because it inherently has a propensity to fill the gaps and a need to fill the gaps. And so what we spend a lot of time and energy on is having a well-structured, sandboxed data set, an information set that is built, it is aggregated and structured and stored and made available to the AI in complex and unique ways to eliminate those gaps from existing and eliminating the opportunities for the AI to hallucinate, but then also having the most up-to-date and relevant information. And so we have this whole other system that's kind of outside of the primary product. We call it Iris versus Lena. We have all these internal acronyms, or I guess external at this point. But so that is this whole process of pointing to trusted sources that are available publicly or privately behind different vendors' paywalls. And so we work with those vendor partners. We have access to that information. It's trusted information. And again, that then gets ingested and structured and stored and made available. And we can really do that at whatever frequency the application requires. So is that a daily thing? Is it a weekly thing? Is it a monthly thing? Depending on the needs of the users.
If I could just add on top of that, I think that part of the Dave, you talked about a conference room with five different devices. For the majority of customers, those are probably likely 5 different vendors that they're having to manage through. And so part of our fundamental value is that we've been building out a lot of relationships. We announced some at InfoComm. We announced as part of our first availability that we have added Logitech and Zoom to our fleet partnership. And so that having that relationship with a lot of these organizations where we're working together on what data to train, again, in an automated way, as you and Eric described, but building that relationship with these different vendors so that we can train Lena on the right devices, the right documentation. That's a real critical part that we spend a very significant amount of time on to make sure that that data is accurate all the way through. So it is automated, but a lot of it is automated because we've collectively, both Netspeak and the different vendors that we support, we work on that together to make sure that we're training on the right level of data.
So that was great. That was one of the points that I wanted to bring out. And the other point that I wanted to bring out, and then you guys, again, correct me if I don't have this exactly right, but if I've got a video call scheduled in a room at whatever time, and Lena has gone through the room in its normal routine and made sure that everything's working and the call is connecting and everything is in its normal state, But when I walk into the room, suddenly I see the far end and they're magenta. And everything's working, the display is on, everything's on, but the color is wrong. What you've developed, that might be a poor example, and if it is, correct me, but what you've developed in Lena is the ability to go into the interface and plain English in natural language and say just that, and say, I'm looking at my conference and I can see the other side, but the other side is magenta, and it will interpret the correct part of the manual of the correct devices to say, this is what you need to look at, this is what you need to adjust, or maybe this is what you need to replace. I don't have to be the troubleshooter. I can just be the eyes and ears, and it can be the troubleshooter. Did I get that right?
I'll just touch on it, Eric, I think at a base level, and you can
Please.
build on top of that. But so first off, just to be clear, Lena, our product is more focused on the administrators. So it is it's not necessarily targeted at just the average user who's walking into the room. I
Right.
want to make that distinction.
Sure.
But you're absolutely correct. If it is what do we rely on for Lena to be so powerful is all the data. So if this is a documented use case, if there's APIs available, that's really the two main drivers for us. So if Lena runs, if you ask Lena to help troubleshoot a problem that you're running across, if it lives in the documentation, absolutely, she's going to be able to answer you in a very natural way. If there are APIs available that could ultimately solve that problem, you can ask Lena to leverage that to actually implement a change. And so it's both the documentation and the APIs of that relationship with the vendors that we worked out that allow us to solve almost any use case, right? We've started with control, we've started with room checks, but the flow and the problem that you were explaining, all of that is capable because we've trained Lena on the right data set, and as long as she has the right documentation and APIs, all of this all of this and then some is possible.
Yeah.
I didn't have to take out the manual, though. I don't have to
That's the
look
point.
up display, resolution, color. It's all in. Like, she knows, so I can just ask my question.
You can, and the one other component of that that's important is Lena knows what's in that room, right? So you as the user, you might be looking at that display that needs to have a color correction. And admittedly, we haven't actually technically done the color correct. So hypothetically, we're using this example, right? But it's a good example. You might not see a vendor's name on the bezel, right? Let alone, the model number of the device. So you're talking about having to go and manually comb through documentation, but you might even know where to start. So you can go and articulate that to Lena, and Lena will go say, okay, well, you're in room, floor 3, room 314. And I know that that's a vendor X display right there, and I know exactly what model that is, and I'm able to go and troubleshoot that very specifically. Oh, and I'm able to do that in the context of this other equipment, because in my experience in this industry, it's more frequently the integration of technologies where issues happen versus like a hard failure on an individual piece of technology. So again, that context aware, that multi-vendor capability is going to enable the platform to help solve that problem much more effectively.
So I'm watching UC Weekly News now, and I see this, and I want it. But this is something I want to try in my enterprise. What do I do?
I'll leave that one to Sam.
Yeah.
For sure.
So first off, I would say you should check out. We as part of our first availability launch, we posted a video to Netspeek.ai, and again, the company is spelled Netspeek .ai. So go to our website. I would encourage everyone to watch the launch video. Right on our website has some forms that you can fill out that come to me that we can help and set up and have a further discussion. You could, of course, add me on LinkedIn, add Eric on LinkedIn. You could ask us questions that way. Sam at netspeak.com. You could email me there as well. But I would encourage a lot of people to go to the website and watch the launch video. I think it's very comprehensive, and I think you'll get a really good understanding as to what the product looks like and what ultimately we're trying to solve.
And again, I'm a medium to large enterprise, and I want this right now. How soon can I be playing with it?
As soon as as soon as you
We're
contact me, right?
they're the large enterprise, and we're the early stage startup. We move much quicker, so it's really on our partners and customers how quickly they want to move.
Awesome. Terrific. Gentlemen, I'm sure I'm going to hear more about this product over the course of the next few months. We're going to get God, it's so scary. We're approaching the holiday season. And when we come out of the holiday season, for me, there's CES and then there's ISE. And I'm sure you guys are going to have a big presence.
We're
in
already
Barcelona.
well
We
on
just-
the path.
We had our planning meeting 2 hours ago.
Awesome. Terrific. Eric, Sam, thank you very much. Netspeak, it's now a commercially available product. You've got a website you told people to go to. What's the website again, Sam?
Netspeak.ai. Again, with
Netspeak,
two E's,
S-P-E-E-K.
NETSPEEK.ai.
I'll put that up on the screen
Thank
so
you.
people see it. And I appreciate you spending the time, and we'll have you back again when you've solved the rest of the problems of the world.
Thank you
Great
so
to
much.
talk to you again. Thank you.
You too. And thank you very much for watching as you do every week. This is David Danto for Talking Points, UC Weekly News. We'll see you on next week's show.